So to start off, I bring the material that kind of closely resembles what I want. And so in this case, this metal material was closer to the sculpture on the left, so it had some oxidization, some metal showing through, and some rust there. So since the mesh was asymmetrical, I took this mirror accents and placed it in the center manually. So now so what I usually do is I take the smart material and then I kind of check what each layer does, and then I scroll the parameters. So here I'm like tweaking ambient occlusion, global balance, and trying to find the color and the level of dirt that I need. So this mask had parameters and generators on it. So in order to work non-destructively, I created a paint. This it's a paint. It's not a layer. It's like a property on the mask. So you right-click on the mask and then add paint. Click on add paint, and then I remove the rust selectively. So now I'm gonna place some materials there. So it's gonna be brass or copper. Change the base. This is basically how I work. So I grab existing materials, tweak some parameters, find something that I like, and continue working. So I created the fill layer, filled it with a mask, and then if you create a fill layer, you can tweak the roughness parameters and height and metallic. So this way I got the non-uniform surface. This is the one way of working. So here I took one part and I tried to make basically a smart material on this individual part. And then after this, I'm gonna clone it, copy and paste it on every other part. And now I can work. So the base is done. Now I'm just basically scraping the metal where I want. So trying to accentuate the curvy lines, the patterns that I made. I thought that I could do the shaders, but they did not show the parts that I needed it to show. So again, I added the paint layer and then removed the things that I don't like and then added the things I need. This is actually why I like Substance. It's like mixing around, playing around with materials. It's really interesting to do. And the materials themselves are not super complicated. Sometimes it gets a little tedious because since these patterns sort of don't have like a border or I did not have an ID map on them, so I have to manually paint them. But it's okay. That doesn't take too much time, but still kind of repeating the same lines that I made before. Sometimes it gets a little boring. So now in the display properties, I turned on the shadows because since there's so much happening around it, looking at it without the shadows might be a little too overwhelming, because there is no way to separate the forms, and the shadows kind of give it a better result. So now I'm adding the leather material, and then I'm gonna paint the meat between the carapace parts. I tried to play around with the color, but then I think at the end I ended up using the red color that it was. It contrasts well with the thing that I had before. I think I think I mentioned it before, but for the continuity's sake, I started painting in Substance, but I usually do my poly painting in ZBrush, so I like because it works really fast in ZBrush, and you can tweak all the colors, and then you just import the poly paint into Substance and use it as a base layer, and then you can layer all the other stuff on top. So with these meaty parts, I'm doing basically the same that I did with these metal parts showing through. I take the parts between the carapace, like plates, and then I fill them with those soft parts. I skipped forward a little bit because I was doing this fairly monotonous work. I like using this method with masks because I can tweak everything else. Because if I don't like this like yellow color, I don't need to put any filters with HSB or like different materials on it. I just select the base color from that smart material, and then I tweak the color, and I can tweak all the parameters as well. So cleaning up the edges on this metal part. Obviously, if you do everything procedurally, so you would have, for example, for this metal part, it's going to be procedural, you're not painting anything. For the soft colorful parts like yellow here, it's going to be procedural. It would be much easier to paste it around the whole model. So you just copy paste it, and then it's going to adjust it by itself. So, but here, the only part that is reusable is the base. For everything else, I would need to paint it again. Usually when it's not totally finished, sometimes I like pasting it around the whole model, so it's not like white there, or like in the area surrounding it, so it's easier to compare the colors. So as you can see, I had this base material for this this top part here, and now it blends in with the chest, but as long like when I turn the shadows on, it's gonna look fine. Everything looks slightly unnatural without the shadows. So I was trying out some different options for the base color. The new ZBrush has great polypainting features, so you can change the color of polypaint, and that's quite good. So you can do all of your planning in ZBrush, and then, as I said before, just paste the polypaint in the base color and then continue working from there. So I'm working on the shoulder pads. I tweaked around that color. I brought it back to the red. This part is quite important because it's near the face, so we need to make it interesting. And I think that ball with the red looks quite good. So I'm trying not to make it too uniform. So I'm deleting some parts with the metal, so it would have some variety. As you can see, we have a fairly low resolution version, but it's because we have 1K texture maps in the viewport. It's in order to make it work a little faster. So now I'm pasting around all of that. I felt like the base was fairly well done, like finished, and I saw these large areas that filled with metal. I thought that it looked interesting, so maybe I thought I could use it. I did not use the metal part because I wanted to have this metal in the very organized way around the edges, but then I ended up introducing some color variation on the base itself, so on that green part. Like again, you can see that what I did basically, I took this greenish material, tweaked some stuff in there, took the metal material, tweaked some things on the metal part, and on the red part. And now it's just painting it, pasting it where it needs to be. And all of our painting is guided by the sculpt itself, so the painting part is fairly stress-free.